Alrighty.
All right, we are recording, so take it away, Beth. If you guys need anything, just let me know.
Okay, thank you, Adrian. I really appreciate it. It's so nice to have a very talented expert moderator that you don't have to deal with the technical aspect of it. But again, as we talked earlier, everyone is getting so good at Zoom. And that's really what I want to take advantage of today. I really want to talk about how we can use an organized curriculum, such as essential education in our academy programs, and how we can really take that from a diagnostic and prescriptive model, and we can move that more towards that direct instruction via online or even direct instruction in your classroom. So we'll just get started. I wanted to just go ahead and share my contact information. You can find the information in the WOVA app. I'm in there probably a million times. And our website for essential education, it's a little tricky. You got to put the slash and the educators on it, and that will take you straight to all kinds of goodies that we have to offer, which I will tell you about first, real quick. So middle of March, we got the word, we're going online, everything's shutting down. And we frantically, in a positive way, frantically started working. And we really wanted to try to do what we could to help teachers understand better how to teach in a distance learning world. And so we developed the teacher toolkit. This is an ever evolving toolkit. So I would encourage you to go ahead and right now, I know you can't click on my PowerPoint, but Carol is putting the link in the chat. And I would encourage you to go ahead and click on the link and bookmark it if you can listen and do that at the same time and still see your screen. I don't know. If not, maybe just a fast pencil, pencil and paper might work. But this toolkit is for teachers that use our program and for teachers that don't. It's for everybody. If you are using our program, there are things like a new student login guide. There's a little quick picture of it right here. It helps students remember their username and password. It helps them know the URL where they're supposed to log in. And it just sort of organizes that logging in process. And then on the other side, conversely, there is a lesson plan. It's called Introducing EE to Your Students. And what we've done with this is we've given a script to teachers. We've said, okay, teachers, on the left side, you read this and you do this. And the student is either virtual or with you, and they're doing everything that you're reading on the right-hand side of the column. So in other words, it's a one-stop cheat sheet to be able to get students and new teachers acclimated to our program. So a couple things in there, and there's a whole bunch more I don't have time to even talk about. But for those that don't use our program, we have videos such as helping to keep students motivated, keep them engaged. We've actually done an analysis of the online management systems like the Googles and Canvas and a few of the other ones to sort of give you an idea of the attributes of some of those. And then there's a series of lesson plans and a document that actually lets you or help, it's like a template basically to help you prepare multiple types of lesson plans with multiple strategies for teaching. So bookmark the toolkit. It's the .com/educators/get-toolkit, and just keep looking and watching because it's really amazing and we really hope it helps. So COABE was in early April, and unfortunately COABE was canceled. We all know that. And we had developed for COABE new books. These are free resources: measurable skill gain handbooks, pacing guides to help you teach the TABE objectives by level and by subject. And if you would like to download our measurable skill gain handbooks, our pacing guides for TABE or CASAS, all you have to do is go to our website. It's just, again, theessentialed.com/educators. There is a yellow button you can click on. It says resources. Go ahead and click on that. You just need to fill in your name and a little bit of info, and you can download the measurable skill gain handbooks. Now, I will tell you, if you are like me and you really like to hold on to something, you want the book, email me at Beth, it's BETH, at essentialed.com. And I will, tell me how many you want, give me your address. And like for Delaware, I know you have a lot of teachers on here, you may want 5 or 6 copies. And I will put those in a box and I will send them. It may take me a few weeks, but I will definitely get that done. So if you want hard copies of our measurable skill handbooks, so you can write in them and you have that book rather than printing, you just ask me and I'll send them, okay? These are powerful because what they're allowing you to do is they're allowing you to see TABE objectives, high emphasis, medium, low emphasis objectives, and how those objectives correlate back to our lessons. How much time might it take or should it take to teach a particular objective? And there are actually lesson plans built into these books. So please peruse those and use them. They're very valuable. You will be a TABE expert after you've gone through the MSG handbooks. And then finally, we also developed at the beginning of pandemic 6 webinars, total time, total investment on your part, 2.5 hours of instruction. They're for you, they're for teachers. We start with course 101 and we move to 102, 201, 202, 301, 302. And we start at the beginning. This is the technical aspect of teaching in a distance learning world. Okay, we talk about Zoom and just how to organize it and so forth. We've hired practitioners from, one of them is a very talented teacher from Austin Community College. And she is talking about how she's actually teaching in a hybrid environment and utilizing a skills-based assessment to move forward with her instruction when they're actually coming. So again, please download these, and you can do that again at .com educators and then /distance learning series. It'll take you right there. If for some reason you're not able to download these, then email me and I will make sure that you get direct links to these, and we'll send you a certificate. So hopefully the state would give you PD credit for these because they are definitely comprehensive. So finally, I don't know if you all know, but Essential Education and ETS HiSET, we do have a really nice partnership. They actually commissioned us to develop the HiSET OPTs. So obviously, ETS GD has the GD Ready vouchers. We are the company that develops the HiSET official practice tests. If you are required to OPT, I know in some states they have to OPT their 16 through 18-year-old juveniles. Let me know. They're inexpensive. They actually are less, I think, than GD Ready vouchers, and they're good. So again, I think no one knows that. So I thought I would go ahead and just announce that today during this session. So those are really 4 resources. 3 of them are free. HiSET OPT, you can get to that again from our website, or email me if you want a link to learn more about those. These are 3 or 4 different resources that you're able to utilize that we've developed specifically for you. All right, moving on. For those of you who don't know anything about it, I am teaching to the middle, so I must go ahead and talk about our core. What we do really well is we have developed online content that is self-paced, it's adaptive, and students are actually taking practice tests first that are exactly like the GED test, or exactly like the HiSET, or exactly like the TABE locator, and level. By the way, TABE is 2, locator and level. And we are placing students into learning plans, and they are working independently at their own pace. I think we're really different because our content is specifically aligned to the tests. You know, we haven't really just decided that we were going to choose this objective and that objective because we think it's really good for an adult to learn. It's that this content is tied back specifically to the tests you see on your screen. The other thing that we've done is we developed a follow-on supplemental workbooks. So students are able to do online lessons, and then they're able to do the supplemental pages in the workbooks. This works well now. I have programs that students are working at home on their own, and then they're coming in, they're giving them workbooks to take home to help supplement. It was designed to go together. We didn't just go out and buy a bunch of stuff and hope that it fits together. We designed all of this. And so you sort of learn to do it one way, and everything works for everything, right? So this is a lesson. We use avatars. We really want to keep the content exciting. We want it to be interactive. We want it to be, I guess for a better word, we don't want it to be scary. And so what we do is we really tie a lot of the content back to real life situations. It's really unique. Our lessons are really unique. We've closed captioned for those that really need to have the closed captioning. We transcript. So students, you know your students, I know you're thinking of one right now, where they would listen and they would go back to the transcript and they would read the transcript again, and then they would rewind the lesson, and they would really dive deep. The way they're organized is we have teaching, 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 and then practice questions. We do track scoring on the practice questions. We track scoring on our unit tests, but we're really concerned about the scoring that is associated with the test itself. And you'll see what I mean by that in just a second. Recently, we've added to our content. And so those of you that use our system, this is for you now. We have added, free of charge, 29 new lessons, and you will find them at the beginning of a unit. And I'm going to show you today how to go find them, basically. And what we did was we're really trying to create a transition between the content that is necessary for GED or HiSET and jobs. So we're trying to make that connection for students. So what we've done is we created lessons that talk about why, like for this one, it's measurement. Why is measurement important to the field of CNA preparation? And when I go to the real system, I'll show you another one so you can see. We actually outline about 6 occupations in every lesson. So students can not only learn about why the content is important, but why it's important for at least 5 or 6 different professions in a particular lesson. I'm glad to send out a list of the new 29 lessons to anyone that wants it. Again, anything that I talk about today, if you want to just email me, beth@essentialed.com, I'll be glad to send you what you want. We have lots of documents and things that I could certainly send, and this is one of the newest ones. I had a school this morning that they would like to go into our system and pull out all these lessons and create a unit of instruction that would consist of there would be, because we have these lessons in reading as well as math, and they would pull out these lessons and create their own units of instruction. So in essence, that sort of becomes one of those sort of soft skill type IET lessons, doesn't it? And as you can imagine, that's where we're headed, right? We really are going to end up having very specific IET courses. Not yet, but we're working on it very, very diligently. So let's back up just a bit and let's talk about what a student sees when they work in our program. So what's happening is the student logs in, you've put them in the system, you've added them, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And they have taken an initial test. If it's TABE, it's a locator, or for TABE, you have the option to place them into the TABE Academy. So for instance, if you've TABed a student and you know they're in level M, then you have an option to put them in level N in our program. TABE Academy is really designed to build the foundation because the lessons are broken down into smaller skills. We have level E, which goes to 2.0, down to 2.0 readability level. And we like it when students are progressing through M and they get to D, and then it's time. When they are in D, it's time to pop them over, and they really need to be working in GED, or they need to be working in HiSET. Now I did that really quickly, right? So I'm going to go back, but I just want you to see that the TABE content, same deal, right? You're assigned TABE, you're choosing a lesson, you're working in units of instruction. You have review. That's sort of how students move through this. We'll talk about review tab in a minute. And then you're in D. It's time to go over. It's time to take a GED practice test. And this student just happened to get a 116 because they started working in pre. They had some foundation skills as well to build. And they took another practice test. And now we know they're functioning at about a 116. They have a ways to go to get to their 145. And they'll start working through units of instruction, which are here. So in the prep level, the units of instruction start with the intro to algebra, then expressions, linear equations, two-dimensional geometry, and so forth. And we want students to achieve an 80% in a unit. And a unit has multiple lessons. You can change that 80% for existing customers. I don't know if you know that or not, but we've changed that to where if you feel like 80 is too high, we can go back to the 70 that we used to have. It's really up to you. Some of these different feature changes, you need to talk to the admin that has been set up in your program. Like, I don't know if you know, but now you can check a box, and if a student is in a practice test, you can check a box and it will stop that test. They can leave and then they can come back. Some people do not want that to happen. Some people, like in the correctional world, they have their, they want them to come back and pick it up where they left off. So you have that option now. So point being is that students are diagnosed, they're placed, and then they move through levels of instruction, and you would be working in TABE, GED, you share a license. You don't have to buy 2 licenses or anything to do that. And then if you are providing an option, if you are serving both GED and HiSET, you get that as well with us. So you could manage students in HiSET. You notice the change here, right? We're not working with 116 anymore to 145. We're working with 3 to 8, okay? So we are tracking all of that. A really cool feature that you can do, and again, customers, if you're not doing this, I really counsel you to do this. You can have one-on-ones with students. I can show you the report. It's called Student Overview, the Student Overview Report. And you can log in as you, the teacher, and you can choose Student Overview Report and bring that up. If you're Zooming, you can have a conversation about this desktop. This is what the student sees every day. The student knows what his practice test scores are. The student knows what his scores on his units are. The student might be getting review and you might need to go back over some lessons with him. Or you can actually click on the practice test detail. You can pull that up and you are able to go through item by item by item on the practice tests. Why did he miss this? How should this have been solved? It is a really strong learning tool to be able to go in and diagnose incorrect answers, right? Or correct, you can see both, right? So this is what it looks like from a student view, and it never changes. It doesn't matter if you're working in our workforce prep, computer work money, and our Dreamcatcher, which is our career exploration, or the IET courses that will come soon. It's all gonna look the same. This is our computer essentials. Again, there's scoring that's going on. There's levels that are going on. There's units of instruction. If you want to set up a personal finance course, then you could get our, sorry, this is work, but you could get our money essentials. If you want to do an employability soft skill prep program, we have that. It's all accessed under the same management in the same way, tracked the same way. You can pull reports, study time, like you could pull a report that will track proxy for work, money, computer, GED, TABE. I mean, you'd have that all in one report. So I'm really proud to say that this is really a one-stop shop. And we've added to that because we've added the books. These are the supplemental workbooks. They're about 400 pages. They're about, like, depending on how many licenses you have or you get, how many books you get and licenses you have, they're about $16, $17 a book for the HiSET GED books. And then our TABE books look like this. There are 21 of them, and they are a review of the online content, but they have extra practice questions in them. So the student is actually getting a review of that content, paper, pencil, and then they're actually getting additional questions as well. If you don't want to supplement the software and you just want a student to use the books, they also have an option so you can use our virtual tutor. And what happens is the student takes a picture of the barcode on a workbook page, and you can sort of see a picture of it here. He then moves into working lessons on his phone. So this student would be one who's not enrolled online, but the books help augment our instruction, right? If you can't get licenses to put every student in our online program, then you can get our books and the student can use their phone and a barcode, and they still have access to a subset of our lessons. If you have questions about that, you can ask me later. Okay, so let's get out of here and let's just go ahead, and this is the program in itself. So I have actually logged in as the teacher. Okay, so kind of think about that for a minute. Okay, you saw the student desktop, right? Looks a lot different than the teacher desktop. Teacher desktop is organized, really there's really just four or five main tabs. Very, very easy. Administration is where you actually add students, you put them in classes, you have attached them to a teacher, you can print a class list. Again, I'm probably not going to spend a whole lot of time on that today. Well, actually, you know what? I think I will just show you just a real quick peek. So student list, you're just gonna see everyone, like Delaware folks, Miami Valley Tech, I know you're on, Upper Valley, you're on. I think we had a lot of Cuyahoga folks on. When you log in as you, the teacher, you see your entire list, okay? If you need to move a student from one class to the next, which happens all the time, all you have to do is go to their record and just add the other class. like X out the one they're in and add the new class. So you guys can actually move your students easily from one class to the other. And let's pretend that this student who's working in GED right now, that this student needed to go work in money. Then as a teacher, you just click money and then the money lessons will appear on the student's homeroom. Very, very easy to be able to maneuver all of this content, within one managed system. Also, students work under an active license. So what that means is they are actively using the program. And so occasionally you might have a student who goes inactive because you can set that timeline. Because if you have a student who is not working, you don't want them to be using a license, right? You want only students that are working to be using a license. So we list active, but you can go into active no, and you can pull up a list of inactive students. And all you have to do is find your student. You can do all kinds of sorting up here to find them easily. And you just click on their record. And you're able to go in and click their active box. And then they become active. They go back on the active list. As a teacher too, I think for existing folks, it's really nice to run a report. So like filter your teachers by, let's do Miss Carrie. And I'm gonna submit, and Miss Carrie has 49 students that she's managing. And this export list of students, this is gonna give you a taste of how we do reports. We actually will show a lot of reports on screen, right? But sometimes we need to export. So what happens is that it's gonna put it into an Excel format, and voila, you have actually a list of, I'll make this a little bigger so you can see it. You have a list of your students, and I don't want to make it full screen. The one thing I love about your class list report is that in pandemic, you really want to know when they last logged in. And sorry, I might be able to get that. Let's see. What am I doing here? My toolbar is going over where I want to go. Anyway, for sake of time, I'm not going to fight with the toolbar or move it. But right here, you can see that little peak, last student logged in, and you can tell for, you can run this for the day, like on Monday, you could say, okay, who didn't log in last week? And you can see in a one-stop shop. There's a few other ways to track that as well, but this is a really nice report to do that. It also gives you a one-stop shop of login information. And also, when did you create them? When did they enroll? And when did they get their license? I have a lot of programs that are basically, tabing on site because they're allowed to meet with students. And then they're, obviously filling out all the paperwork, giving the TABE test on site, and then providing the essential education user information. So that report I just pulled is really valuable. So let's move quickly to content maps, and I'm taking a peek at my time. Okay. Those of you that are using the program, there's a completely different way to use it than maybe what you've been used to doing prior to pandemic. And that's sort of where this presentation title came from, because this has really become an innovation. It's like utilizing this program, but it's being extremely creative and innovative in its use. This has actually spurred us, what I'm going to show you has actually spurred us to actually move forward with another component that we're getting ready to add, which is going to let you create like Google Classroom like modules in this program. But the difference is that you have our content to drag and drop into this managed enrollment, and you would have the opportunity to drag in other links to YouTube or any sort of PDFs or anything. That's coming, okay, where you actually can organize this into your own online units of instruction for students. But right now, you can really sort of do that. And this is what I'm going to show you. So if you would like to use this program in more of a direct instruction, like during a Zoom meeting, all you have to do is make sure you have the right course in the upper right-hand corner. So GED Academy, and go to content maps. And by the way, if you don't, you just pull down. You just click and like you can change it to TABE, you could change it to Work Essentials, Money Essentials, any of the courses that you own. You go over to content map, and it is exactly what it says. It is a map, basically, of the content that's included in GED. So if you'd like to see how do we correlate with GED objectives, with the GED numbering system, then I'm going to pull correlation because I'm really wanting to understand specifically GED targeted outcomes and how Essential Ed aligns to those. So I'm going to pull the report. It's going to populate on the screen. And, you know, I could go fast and make you really dizzy this Friday afternoon, but I mean, everything in blue right here, all of these are lessons. These are lessons that you can actually click on and teach with. So let's look at that. Fractions, rates and ratios, density, ratios and rates. Let's just go ahead and click on that.
Hey, what's up? This lesson's all about ratios and rates. Ratios and rates.
I'm gonna go ahead and start
When
it.
I buy groceries,
This is
I
Dwayne.
usually
He's one
buy
of our
what's
characters.
cheapest. I love these cheese crackers. You can get a 1-pound box for $4 or a 2-pound box for $6. I always buy the smaller size because it costs less. I mean, I need to stay in my budget. But my brother Jesse keeps telling me that the larger box of crackers is really less expensive.
Okay, so we're going to start talking about ratio here in a minute, but if you are a student who doesn't like to listen, then you can turn off your audio and just pop up the transcript and you can read everything Dwayne is talking about. And by the way, every lesson in the introduction, it ties back the concept or the objective that's getting ready to be taught back to real life types of things. Like if you want to see then a lesson now.
Jesse and I played our favorite video game 20 times last night.
This is a
I guess
ratio
we were a
lesson.
little bored. But hey, I won 14 times. Jesse wasn't too happy, and he demanded a rematch tonight. It totally got me thinking about ratios. See, a ratio is when you compare two quantities that have the same units. So I can compare our scores using a ratio. There are 3 ways you can write a ratio: as a fraction, in words, or using a colon.
Okay,
Here's what I
so
mean.
again, I can go into teacher mode here a little bit, but you could basically stop right now. You could play the video for a while, you could stop, and then you could ask the students to, you could go around. If you're really good, like Adrian, you could pop up a whiteboard in Zoom as well, and you could start using a whiteboard. And I bet some of you actually are using whiteboard as you're teaching online. But again, these lessons are the catalyst. These lessons are about 25 minutes, thereabouts, and you as the instructor right here, you have the ability to move through like ratios, and this one is rates. You know, if you just wanted to introduce
Rates are just like ratios. Well, almost like ratios. Hey, $3 for every 7 bricks? Not bad.
Okay, and again, so I want you to really start thinking about that. How could bless you. How could I use a lesson to teach directly, either via Zoom, or I was on yesterday with another group and they were actually using the lessons in class to just introduce concepts. And there is a way that the system will also tell you, how do I choose? You know, what lessons should I really choose? Now, obviously you guys have been teaching for a very long time and you know the order of things that you like to teach in. You have a lot of materials. So some of you might just want to pull down lessons and just use them to introduce or use them to supplement. And you can also like, demonstrate a lesson, basically. Let's pull up another one.
Welcome to the lesson Simplifying Exponents. Once you know how to
I'm going to
add,
go ahead and I'm
I
going
remember
really
learning about
fast
exponents
through
when I
this
was in
just
middle school.
because you can
We were
always
doing
review the
math.
lessons and some of
We
you
just
are
learned how to
using
do
the
it, but
lessons. So
we weren't really shown how they were used. It wasn't until I started to learn about computers that I saw how exponents were used.
okay,
that
again, a
computers had
stop, a
memory, and I
start,
kept
you
hearing
know,
people-
again, you could have students read the transcript. You could go through the menu and you could just start talking about the questions that go along with it. You could get answers incorrect. You could talk about incorrect. Why is that incorrect? I mean, sky's the limit. And then you can actually assign them. So you can assign to a single student or an entire class. And if you assign to an entire class, you're actually just pulling up the name of your class and writing them a little memo. It shows up on their homeroom and there's a tab that's called the assignment tab. So I mentioned if you really want to try to narrow this down, right? There's a report and it's called Skill Mastery. And I love this report because what it's doing is it's letting you choose for your class. And we're gonna choose Mary's Distance Learning 2021 class. If you would like to know for your entire class in GED math, which skills do you as a class or do they as a class still need to work on? The Skill Mastery is going to tell you that in the context of GED nomenclature. So if I was Miss Carey, I think Miss Carey's doing a really good job. I mean, look at her DL class. These students are doing very well. And so you obviously are wanting to see the readies, right? But then you start seeing in the Q.2s, there's an almost. And as a teacher, you obviously want to know why almost? And so you're able to keep drilling down and you're able to determine why. In the Q.2 objective, in the broad objective, what specific skill set? And this happens to be numerical expressions with squares and square roots. So what you can do, several things. You can go back to content maps and you can actually pull our lessons that teach that. And so you're able, via Zoom or in a hybrid class, you're actually able to use Skill Mastery specifically to help target that focused direct instruction. And obviously the idea is to go back over it again, right? And to utilize our content to be able to do that. Then finally, you can also do the same thing if you would like to try to help a student who's almost ready become ready. So let's type, I think I have a student in here named Kaylee. And Kaylee's almost ready to pass. She's almost there. She's almost ready to go test. Look at that. She's almost. Quantitative problem solving versus algebraic, she's doing a lot better. But if you really wanted to know, what can I work with Kaylee on? It's pandemic. She can't come to class. What can I do? Well, you could schedule one-on-ones and you could actually figure out what you do need to work on. And she's scale factors to determine the magnitude of a size change, convert between actual drawings and scale drawings. And again, you could just keep going and you have your information specifically about what Kaylee needs in order to still move forward to meet her goal. Finally, I'm going back to content map. We always need extra time, right, to understand the test itself. And I feel like if you were here at the beginning, you heard me talk a lot about our practice tests. You know, we are the OPT developer for HiSET. We have strong practice test development skills in our company. And so what we have done is, you know, if you heard me earlier, this is also, and always has been, a diagnostic and a prescriptive program, which adapts to meet students' needs. So we've got all these practice tests built into this program. Generally, when a student works individually, they'll use practice test 1, here we are in math, practice test 2, practice test 3, generally to get through their process. But then all of a sudden we've got this number 4 that's just sort of there. Well, I want you to think about it. You could log in as you could go to the practice test section under content maps, and you could go view summary, which is actually an answer sheet. You can print this, so you have it. You don't have to do everything online in order to prep for it. You know, as a teacher prepping, I don't necessarily want to do all my prep online. I might want to have some, paper, so you can print that and have that available. And then you could log in and call this up, just like I'm showing you right now. And you could say, okay, class, read, we're going to have Bob read question number 1, and Bob could read number 1. You could talk about the answer, and then you can even dive into the multiple answers to the incorrect versus correct answers to this particular question. I think this could be used really nicely as a warm up, because just like what happened today, right? Everybody can't get in to the meeting at the same time, right? Things happen, and you need to come when you can get there. And I know that's happening with students as well. So maybe what you do, and I'll go back and show you one more time. Maybe what you do is you log into our system as a teacher, and you go over to content maps, you go to practice test, and this week you're going to be showing the first question or 2 from the science practice test. And the idea is to just keep them focused on, yeah, there still is a test that I'm going to have to take, even though I'm in pandemic. And it's just keeping their mind focused on their end goal. And they're really just sitting in this system. And again, as I said, as the students move through their learning plans, they generally use 1, 2, and 3. And we usually have this 4th one of 25 questions for science, and the same for social studies, math, reading, RLA, and extended response. Oh my gosh, can you imagine what you could do with introducing, project-based writing through Zoom with our lessons? So I probably get more excited about this than I should, but I just think it's such a time saver. And I keep having teachers tell me that they're having to go and build content, and that it's just not like it used to be in reference to trying to get this delivery of instruction completed. And I do want you to know that if you are using our system, there's no limit to the number of teachers you can add. You can add however many you want. And a teacher who maybe isn't assigning licenses to her students could still use our content to teach via Zoom, because you're just using us, you're logging in, and you're just using us as your content, okay? All righty, that's a lot for a Friday afternoon at, let's see, it's 3:17 your time. So what I'd like to do right now is I'd like to go ahead and just open it up. There's a whole lot more I could tell you about this program, but I think it's probably enough for now. So I would like to just open up the chat, and let me see, we'll go from last back to first. And so the first question is the program free or does it cost? Great question, because I really didn't mention that. So Essential Education is a program that does cost money for the content. So we price by reusable seat. The minimum purchase is 10 reusable seats, and that is $700. So what happens is that we have a lot of smaller programs that will buy 10 reusable seats. They'll have 10 students working, and then once those students get to where they need to be, right, then they leave the program and another student comes in. We also have programs like Tri-C, Cincinnati, Miami Valley Tech, who are huge, and they have hundreds of licenses of this. The more you buy, the cheaper it gets per license. But yeah, it does cost, but we also have lots of those free resources that I talked about that are also available for free as well. Okay, is there a way to sort through test questions for a specific topic? The tests themselves are it's not really designed to be a test item bank. The tests are just tied back to the GED subject. So yeah, you can search by subject. You've got to take the questions as they're written, basically. So I guess the answer to that would be not really. You would have to print out, like you'd have to call up one of these tests, print it, and then you would know what that, what that test question is really talking about. But obviously the science are the science, right? And the math are math, and we do organize them by subject. Okay, and then we've got Carol put our distance learning series in. Thank you, Carol. That is free. Our DL series is free. And I think any other questions? I think that was about it. Okay, so just sort of in summary, let me pop back up the PowerPoint real quick, because I did want to just show you one more time, sort of from the student's point of view, because we just left the teacher's point of view, and I'm going to go back to the student's point of view. This is what they do. So the practice test, is given first, and then they are diagnosed and they're placed, and they move through levels, and they get another practice test, and then they move through the next level, and then they get another practice test. And our goal is to monitor their real-time practice test scoring. So this student right now is pretty much on track. They've practiced with the pre, they've gone through all the units of instruction for pre, they took a practice test, now they're in prep, they're getting ready to go. And then hopefully, cross your fingers, by the time they're finished with the prep level, they get another test, and hopefully they're going to be right here, which is going to be about a 145, 150. And then if they're ready to test, but because of pandemic, the centers aren't open and we can't get them there, you can always go to that skill mastery report, and you can determine what else do they need to work on, and you could schedule one-on-ones. Or you could schedule just do a one-on-one and call up their homeroom, and you'll be able to open their practice tests, and you'll be able to keep them going, with what they still don't get, which is a huge confidence builder, if you're sitting and waiting. So we've got a couple more in chat. So let's see what we've got in chat. So the new workplace connection lessons, where are those? Upper level lessons locked until lower levels are mastered. Yes, I mean, like what we've done, let me see if I can find one for you. What we've done with the workplace lessons is we've literally just inserted them in the unit that it's teaching. So for instance, in math, GED, let's go to the measurement unit. And I think I'll just scroll. You can always do a Control F, right? Control F, standard keyboard, Control F is going to pop up. Well, actually, I'll do it. It's going to pop it up. And then like if I wanted to type in measurement, or I wanted to type in fractions, it's going to take me right to that content that I'm searching for. So the workplace connection for the measurement unit has just been inserted at the beginning of the unit. And actually, let me show you. I think I promised I would show you.
This unit will build your workplace skills. Let's take a look at how it's useful on the job.
Hoping I shared my audio. Oh, good. I was double checking. I couldn't remember if I shared my audio. So this is
Hi, I'm Leonard. I
Leonard.
want to show you different careers I selected that use measurement. Whether it's measuring length, weight, volume, or even money, measurement is used a lot in the workplace. This unit focuses on understanding common units of measurement and converting between different measurement. Take a look through these careers. You might find some interesting jobs as well as learn how this unit can help you in the workplace. Click I'm done when you've finished your tour.
So I just think it's fantastic that, you know, we're really giving them an opportunity to pursue and understand different occupations. And it's literally built into the context of learning the measurement objectives that are required for the GED. I mean, I think it's really pretty brilliant. I don't know about y'all, but when I was little, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do and didn't have a lot of frame of reference as to what I wanted to do. So, you know, if someone doesn't know what a CNA consists of, or an electromagnetic assembler, you know, let's do that one.
Transformers are electrical devices made up of 2 or more coils of wire. They're used to transfer electrical energy through a changing magnetic field. Electromagnetic assemblers work on transformer mechanical assemblies. They also solder wire connections that connect to the transformer. People who like electrical work will probably enjoy this kind of job. Electromagnetic assemblers use a lot of measurement in their work. For example, an electromagnetic assembler needs to be able to tell the difference between a 4-gauge and an 8-gauge wire.
Okay, and again, we don't have a lot of time, but
now that you've learned a bit about how this unit
all right,
can
Mr.
help
Leonard.
build your-
So I feel like that, you know, they're really serving multiple purposes. Obviously, they're tying that skill back to careers. And so obviously that's telling the student why. I mean, I think so many times students need to understand the why, and that's what we're doing. But then again, I think that career, yeah, me too, Adrian. I didn't have any idea what I wanted to be when I grew up. It's amazing because I actually found my way to do exactly what I love, right? But again, I think they work really well. I hope I answered that question. So they're basically just embedded in the units. And then if a student gets that unit, they will start with the workplace connection. But then earlier I mentioned, I can send you a list. Again, Beth@essentialed.com. If you're an essential education user, then I've got programs that are going into content maps and they're just assigning all of them. So for instance, the way you would do that is you would find measurement and you would go assign, and you would assign it to a student or a class, probably your class. And you would just explain that you're going to do a career exploration component, you know, for the next month, let's say. And you would go and you just would find, here's one for percents. And then you just would keep going. And here's one for graphs and charts. And the student will see that assignment under a tab on their desktop. And what you've done is you've created this new, you know, module for basically career exploration, basically. All right, I think there was one more up here. Actually not. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. All right, well, let's see. One last call for questions. If anyone wants to take themselves off mute and just ask me anything, I can take it. I'm an Ohio girl. I'm strong. I'm a farm girl from Ohio. So just throw it at me. Would love if I have anyone on here that doesn't use Essential Ed. If you want to try it, I'll be glad to open up a little trial or a pilot for a while for you. We'd be glad to train you. For those of you that have seen some things that, oh, wow, skill mastery report, content maps, we didn't even talk about proxy hours or, any of those reports. If you feel like that you need some additional customized training for your particular program, you just need to either talk to your director or email me and we'll get that done. Because I'm not traveling. I didn't get to make my 4 trips to Ohio this year. So yeah, pretty sad. All I can do is look at pictures of the farm I grew up on. So anyway, all righty. I think we're right on time, which is just very unheard of for me. And again, if there's anything that I mentioned that you just aren't quite sure of what I said, very glad to answer any questions. Beth@essentialed.com. Have a great
Thank you,
rest of the
Beth,
conference.
so much.
Oh,
I
you're
really
welcome.
appreciate that. And I kept noticing, I love your enthusiasm and your passion for all this. And it truly shows. You can feel how much you enjoy what you do and how
Mm.
you believe in the product, and it's so lovely and so refreshing. And then we giggle about, yeah, this wasn't what I had planned on when I was little and dreaming of what I wanted to be when I grew up, but I think you nailed it. So thank you
Well,
for a great presentation.
You're welcome. Thank you. I started out Ohio University special education, right? University of Dayton Flyer. We share that.
Yes,
Adrian.
we're flyers.
Master's in instructional technology. And, I love K-12, but oh gosh, I'm where I need to be with adults.
I'm
And
with you.
I'm here to just do whatever I can to get these students graduated and so they can move on and feed their family, basically.
Can I ask one more quick question before we let you go, Beth?
Sure.
Sure, Cheryl. So looking like I just logged in real quick under my own name, and I have a little account here so I can kind of practice with it. So if a student is in pre-GED, they're in that category, can they jump into an upper level, or can they not get there until they've passed like a practice test?
Yeah, they can't get to GED prep until they've taken that practice test at the end of the pre-GED level. And then it will set up their new learning plan for that new level, the GED prep level. But you can always, if there's anything you see in here that for whatever reasons you want to assign them, you have the tool here now. Now you can go to Content Map, pull it down under correlation or scope and sequence, any subject. I picked on math today, but reading, writing, and assign it. And that's gonna give them more. It doesn't disrupt their learning plan. And you really don't want to. If you disrupt their learning plan, you've disrupted the practice test scores, you've taken away the ability for the system to create the skill mastery report. But if you want to trump, I always call it, you're just trumping it, right? You're just adding something else, basically. And they can choose to do that. So.
Great, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. All right, one last call. I guess we'll say goodbye. I'll be on the app on Zoom next week. I just basically open it up on my phone. I have a Zoom meeting set for the whole day, however long the conference is, and it just dings if somebody wants to talk to me. Okay?
All right, well, join us for our networking and social hour.
We'll do that. That's happening right now.
Yeah,
right?
Starting at 3:30.
Okay, I'm in.
All right, sounds good. Well, we'll see you all over there. Thanks so much.
All right, bye everybody.
Bye.